Hi, and welcome to Explain It to Hope. My name's Hope Luker, and I'm here with Mike Broadhurst to answer some real estate questions today. What I want to talk about is I was reading the Wall Street Journal, not to brag, but it was talking about appraisals becoming a problem in the market and how it can make a sale fall apart if an appraisal is too low. Could you kind of explain that? Explain what it was talking about?
Yeah, I read the same article too, and it's interesting. I think a lot of that information was taken from other areas of the country, maybe like the Northeast or maybe the Midwest, where people were buying homes and the properties were being appraised not just lower, but a lot lower. Is that a problem here in Bluffton, Hilton Head? Our market is different. Are there low appraisals? Yes. But this is a seller's market, and sellers are in the driver's seat. And so what happens a lot of times is when you're making an offer on a property, it'll be a requirement that the buyer waive the appraisal contingency. What's that mean? If, for example, you're buying a house and you're putting down 20% and just using round numbers, let's say you're buying a house for $200,000, you're putting down 20%. Well, the bank is going to make you a loan for 80% of that value, or $160,000. If the property appraises, say, for $170,000, well, they can't make you an 80% loan at $170,000, or $160,000. They have to reduce the ratio according to $170,000. So that's $36,000. So the loan amount changes. So you as the borrower can't qualify for the loan. So the transaction falls apart because of the low appraisal. That's what happens. What's happening in our market is that a lot of buyers, and I will say in the last year, every contract that I have written, and that's close to 50 contracts, have had appraisal waivers in it. And what that means is the buyer is waiving the requirement of the appraisal on their loan. So what they're saying is that they will pay the difference in cash between the appraised value and the contract price. So again, let's go back to our example. If I'm buying a house for $200,000, I'm putting down 20%, and the property appraises for $190,000, then I will bring an additional $10,000 to settlement so that the transaction will close. Yeah, so our market is different, and there's a lot of demand, and sellers are in the driver's seat, and so that's sort of how the whole appraisal issue is being offset, and why I think most realtors find that low appraisals are not an issue because of this sort of dynamic that's being pressed upon the buying public by sellers that are in the driver's seat.
So the waiver would mean I, as the buyer, have to bring that extra cash on hand.
Right.
In case there's a low appraisal.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. You know, one of the big concerns that I have for our real estate market is that in some agents, some sellers will not even accept an offer unless it's a cash offer. And so that's ruling out a lot of people who really need to buy homes and they really can't afford to. So the only way they can afford to is to do an appraisal waiver. One of my concerns is that, again, in the last year, I have not written a contract or received a contract for anybody who's buying their first home. That's sort of a concern. Period. Everybody who's buying or through me as a buyer's agent or as a listing agent, they are people who have sold another property and they have a lot of cash that they can put into the property. So what this means is that these low interest rates are kind of not having the impact that they possibly could, because the first-time home buyer can't guarantee somebody an appraisal waiver. They only have 5% to put down.
The person who's really benefiting from it is the person who's going to a second home.
Yeah.
Put in.
Right. Yeah, and in our market, what's happened is a lot of the buyers are coming from other areas where they've sold. And these are people who are kind of like empty nesters. They've sold their home and they have a ton of cash. And so putting down 20% plus whatever the variable is between the appraised value and the contract price, they can afford to do it. Right. I think the disturbing part of all of this is that folks who are renting and have been renting who would like to buy a home, it's really hard on them to match that kind of requirement in a contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I will. That was super enlightening, actually. And I have some follow-up questions, so we'll have to do this again.
Okay.
Sometime. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Mike.
Thanks, Hope.
All right.